Right, ladies and gentlemen, ever since that Variety article, the floodgates are now open. What am I talking about? Well, the Variety article is, of course, a pretty wide-ranging piece, but it puts a spotlight on Marvel, Disney, Kevin Feige, how they go around handling their productions, be it TV, budgets for movies, whatever. It's been really interesting. Now, what has also been interesting has been the response by other mainstream media sources. And a lot of them are just going, oh, okay, well, we can now critique them. Ah, yeah, cool, we can. Well, one person's there, we'll just critique them now. It's fair game, fine. And it's interesting. I mean, it's that sheep mentality, I guess. And this, for starters, the Marvel's ticket pre-sales are said to be pacing behind DCEU flops like Black Adam and The Flash. Now, The Flash struggled to hit $100 million at the domestic box office. That's really, really bad. It's very, very bad. And a lot of it comes from Deadline, believe it or not. So that's where we're taking the information from, compiled into this article. Now, just as a quick aside, sorry my voice is a joke at this point in time. I'm struggling on through this. I've had the vid. It is what it is. But hey, hit that thumbs up button, I guess. And hit subscribe if you are new here. But I do apologise that my voice is quite strained, and it's not very pleasant to listen to. I understand that. But I can't not bring you some fascinating videos such as this, because we are quite literally chronicling the mainstream media's turning of the tide, as it were. So I have to keep making this level of content for you. So anyway, let's dive in, shall we? As the article notes, we are literally days away from the Marvels being released. Now, the Marvels has had so many issues with it. I listed down, its entire plot breakdown. And it was fascinating because the Variety article confirmed that they'd had test screenings. Which is a very rare thing for Marvel to do. A public test screening, but the results were terrible. It also detailed that they had 100% reshoots as well. I don't mean they had 100% of the time reshoots. I mean, they 100% confirmed there were reshoots done. Quite lengthy reshoots as well. And it's fascinating because, ladies and gentlemen, these are things I'd reported on. Other such commentators in this space had reported on from sources. And we were shouted down. We were like, no, you're talking absolute nonsense. The Marvels is fine. They're not going back for reshoots. Now, that was a big point of contention. The fact that they were doing reshoots. Loads of people denied it. And yet confirmed by Variety. But it is literally days away. This film is days away. And there is absolutely no hype. Now, the reason why I'm focusing on this before we dive into its actual results is because this is, it goes to show you anyway, the significant difference in public opinion when it comes to Marvel products. Marvel products, by and large, were the water cooler movie topic. And what I mean by that is, you go out watching it at the weekend and you'd go into the office, and when you're standing around at the water cooler filling up your thermos or whatever, you'd be sat there discussing what you just saw. And this is not something which we have now. It is not in the pop culture zeitgeist as much as it had previously been. That sort of manufactured, and it was manufactured, that manufactured need to watch these films is wearing very, very thin. Very, very thin. I mean, there's literally no hype for this film. The Marvels has no hype. And it puts a spotlight on how Captain Marvel, that film, which, crossed $1 billion, blah, 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 how that film probably only got as good as it did, at the box office, due to Kevin Feige coming out and saying, this film, Captain Marvel, super, super important for Endgame. You must watch it. You have to watch this film. Because they wedged it right between two films that were peak comic book movie interest. Now, what does this translate to? We translate to Deadline, saying that Captain Marvel's sequel, The Marvels, will open with less than $70 million. Now, I absolutely believe that. I mean, I think $40 to $50 million. Genuinely. Now, the reason why I think that is because the original report that released its box office pre-sales was, as they say here, the pre-sales were pacing behind both Black Adam and The Flash. And they only debuted at $67 and $55 million. So if it's behind that, ladies and gentlemen, the pre-sales are behind that, there is absolutely no interest. And that's important because these comic book movies are front-loaded. You can track it on basically everything. Everything that's come out before this now, I don't know, maybe excluding like the rarity, I guess, like an outlier movie here and there, they make or break in their first weekend. And then they drop 60% next weekend. So if this movie opens to $50 million domestically, and then the next week it drops 50%, that film will struggle to cross $100 million at the domestic box office, which is near unthinkable. You almost expect it when it comes to DC. Now, it's not to slight on DC, but they haven't had as many hits as Marvel. Marvel is this almost untouchable, mythical monster machine at movies. And this is a sequel to a billion-dollar grosser. So if it does struggle to hit $100 million, holy shit. Holy shit. Now that should be a wake-up call for Disney and Kevin Feige. And also anyone on the board. But unlikely that it will, of course. Very, very unlikely. But there's just no interest. There's absolutely no interest for this film. So I can believe it. I can absolutely believe it. Like I said, if it struggles to hit, that's why if it's $50 million, it will limp to $100 million. And at that point, I do wonder whether in the public eye, because mark my words, there'll be plenty of articles about it. I do wonder if in the public eye, Marvel as a brand will then become tarnished. Because I think that's important. You almost expect it from DC. And that's why there's very little interest in DC films. A DC trailer comes out and you're like, oh yeah, sure, fine, maybe. But they can't manufacture that hype as much as Marvel has done. But if these films consistently do less and less and less and less, will that carry over to general interest from the audience waning more and more, and the brand itself being tarnished? Again, just like it happened with Star Wars. We've just had new figures released at Ahsoka. The finale of it, terrible numbers. Absolutely appalling numbers. Loki, for instance. Loki has had terrible numbers for season 2. I definitely think now the brands, as a brand property, marketable property, is waning. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. I do apologise once again for my terrible voice. I appreciate it's pretty awful to listen to. But it is what it is. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.